Hello, I'm Gregory Khan, and I am the developer of Glassleaves. In this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the basic procedures that I recommend to generate a text from an existing text with some manipulations in order to look for surprising lines or images that you can use later in your own writing. There's going to be a more advanced video for another set of manipulations that involve secondary texts. But for this video, I'm just going to be showing you some of the really easy to use procedures for doing this. So I'll start with our sample text from Heart of Darkness. I'll show you the first one, which is Shuffle Nouns. How Shuffle Nouns works is that it takes the text that you have input, it extracts all the nouns, and so you have the set of nouns that's been taken out, and what it will do is copy that set of nouns, shuffle them, and it will replace the original set. So everywhere in the text that there was a noun, its position will be swapped with that of another, essentially. The same thing happens for shuffle verbs. And you can even do both at once. So you can shuffle verbs and shuffle nouns. And what this does essentially is it preserves the syntax of the original text, but moves around, of course, the things, i.e. the nouns, and the actions or events, the verbs. What did I just do? I did the wrong thing. It should be shuffle. So just want to highlight the fact that when you're reading the output of something like this, a lot of the time it's going to be very silly. It may not make any sense, a lot of it. And what I would describe that as is you get a very noisy output, right? So unlike, say, ChatGPT or something, you're not going to be able to use this as a finished piece of work. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that depends on how experimental your context is. But typically, when you get an output like this from running procedures, the shuffle procedures, the idea is that you have a bunch of noise, and you have to scan through the noise to see if a signal emerges. This is a pretty subjective thing, especially if you're a poet. I think you know that there's a fine line between a surprising image and utter nonsense. And different people actually have different thresholds for this. So sometimes I find this is a bit of a Rorschach blot as well, to see, where your mind is going, scanning through something like this. So, to give you an example, what I'll do is, I just start reading through this very quickly. If any lines stand out to me, I'll copy them. If you want, you can put this into the input box, start cutting out things that you like, and then you can actually save it later if you've picked out a bunch of things, and then you can reuse them in an actual piece of writing later on. So those are the shuffle procedures for the word classes. And I'll show you another favorite that is also very simple to run. Everyone loves using this one. It is the Markov Chain generator. Whenever I look at the kinds of procedures that people are using, a lot of the time people are using this one. So going back to, I'll run it and explain. Going back to my earlier point about signal and noise, the cool thing about a Markov chain is that it actually strikes a really nice balance. So very loosely, how the Markov chain generator works is that with your initial text that you put in, for every word in that text, it essentially constructs a probability distribution of other words that occur after that word. So again, every word in the text will have a distribution for the words that have occurred right after it. And what it does is it uses that probability table to reconstruct the text word by word. And why that is often effective is because, assuming you've given it enough data, like a long enough piece of text, it can often reproduce fairly sensical, so to speak, sentences. Because it's relying on probability, it has some context, so to speak, for what things belong with what other things. And that's why sometimes with the Markov chain generator, you actually get less noisy input than if you use the shuffle. So it's quite a fun one. And every time you run it, it will produce something different. Again, just want to emphasize that it doesn't work as well for short things. So, a short poem, for example, it probably won't do very well. You might need to get a bunch of poems, say from the same poet, or a bunch of different poems, and put them all into the input, and then run the Markov chain generator. Again, once you've produced the output, it's the same process as what I described earlier with the shuffle procedures. You basically just want to spend some time running through it, scanning for images or lines that stand out to you. Okay, so on another level completely, I wanted to show shuffle sentences just briefly. So this one is quite straightforward. I just take the sentences in the text and change the order up randomly. If you're wondering how this is useful, because considering all the sentences are still the same, here what you're looking at is something quite different to the Markov chain generator and the shuffle procedure, the shuffle noun and verb procedures. In this one, you are looking for surprising arrangements of sentences, or surprising leaps between sentences. Whereas I would argue that in the shuffle procedures in the Markov chain generator, you're looking for cool sounding phrases or sentences. Okay, so say it again. With shuffle sentences, what you're looking for is interesting combinations of sentences. I don't know how successful it would be all the time to use shuffle sentences. I think that it really depends on the kind of text that you use. But yeah, just wanted to indicate that that's there. There's also weave sentences, which will be the first procedure I show in these videos that actually allows you to use a different text. And like the name suggests, what it does is takes the sentences from your input text, takes the sentence from the secondary text, and kind of weaves them together. And again, what you're looking for is similar to what I was saying about shuffle sentences. You are looking for combinations of sentences that might be surprising or interesting or fun or funny. Yeah. That's more or less all I wanted to cover for this one. So again, these procedures allow you to take an existing text, do some weird stuff with it, rearrange things within it. And the point of that is to produce a new set of sentences that you can then scan to see if there's anything cool that you might want to use for something else. I think with this video, it becomes pretty obvious that the automation only goes so far. You actually, as the author, still have to do a lot of work to go and find things that are worth using. So this is more like a process of trial and error. It is like, I think I've used this analogy before. It's like combing a beach for something cool, or like, I don't know, panning, sifting for gold. You're not always going to find something cool, but you may well. And even if you don't find something cool, my hope is that it's still fun. And sometimes it's actually quite funny to read the stuff that it produces. Yeah. I think that's all I want to say for this video. In the next 2 videos, I'll go back to doing more advanced analysis and more advanced manipulations. And I'm going to be introducing the match procedures, which is a completely new set of procedures that are introduced in V2. But yeah, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.